Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast with Hilary Saxton. Solo episode this week. Going to be looking a little bit more mindset-y, bit more goal-achieving style. Today, I'm going to give you 5 tips for achieving what you want. I've got some great research on this, and I know that you're going to take a lot away and just feel that little bit more motivated to achieve the things that you want to in life. So let's jump on into episode 99. Hello, welcome to episode 99, solo episode with Hilary Saxton this week. That's me. For those that are watching me on YouTube, see the line on my forehead? That was from wearing my cap too tight this morning, so I hope that's not too much. You can only just see that. Oh, it might have gone away. But that is where I came up with my topic. You know, when you're out walking or exercising and you've got that blood flowing and you've got that energy going on and you get a lot more creative. I do. And that's where I came up with today's topic. I was listening to something else, and it was about people that achieve goals. And it was along the lines of, by about February, well, it's actually 32 days. So 32 days after New Year's Eve, statistically, most people give up on the habits or the goals that they were intending to achieve. So we start that year off with a hiss and a roar, and we know exactly what we want to do. We're really excited about it. And then what happens? At about day 32, it's a huge drop off. And to me, someone who's all about achieving goals, somebody who works with people achieving goals, having worked as a coach for a long time and just being a sort of a self-improvement, junkie, I might say, and studier and lifelong studier of that sort of thing, I really find it quite interesting that people set goals and they want to achieve something and then they stop. And I know personally some of those ones I can do that as well, especially maybe some health goals. I might be on track and heading toward it and then the wheels come off and things go pear-shaped. But I thought today I would look at what tends to work and just tell some stories and show some examples of what you can do to achieve what you want. So I'm going to begin with the British cycling team. Now, if you don't know this story, this is a great story. And if you do, it's always good to hear it again. So they were atrocious. I do have got some notes. I do have notes to get the dates right. But back in 2002 and 2005, they won 2 medals at the 2002 Olympics, and I think 3 or 4 at the 2005. They were in fact so bad that there was a particular bike manufacturer that didn't want them to ride their bikes because they didn't want their name associated with a team that lost so badly. They just weren't good at all. So anyway, they hired a new coach, Dave Brailsford. Oh gosh, now I should get that right. Dave Brailsford. And I think he's now Sir Dave Brailsford. And he decided to take on a different way of training. Instead of being all about the exercise and, having had that fitness background, understanding, the loading and preparing for something like that, he decided to take it all next level. He decided to go for the 1% better in a multitude of areas instead of just focusing on one. And so by the time he finished, they won in the 2008 Olympics, they won 18 gold medals and they dominated again in 2012. And they're called the Sky Team. They also won 4 out of the 5 Tour de France's between 2012 and 2016. Wow. Now those results are phenomenal. And the exciting thing about that is it's something that we can all implement ourselves because none of it is hard. What they did was make small changes, 1% changes in a multitude of areas. Things like their training schedule, which you might expect, yes, their training schedule, but their nutrition. They looked at their nutrition, yes, but they made 1% changes. They had specific warm-ups and cool-downs. They tested massage gels to see which were 1% better. Like, how do you know what 1% better is? They even painted the floor in the maintenance area white to see when there was too much dust on the floor. They got a doctor to come in and teach them how to wash their hands properly. How crazy is that? Just hygiene, 1%. It's so tiny. They changed their pillows, and they also travelled with their pillows. So there was consistency in their sleeping. So we all know how important sleep is, but taking it that one step further and just micro changes by travelling with your own pillow, bike ergonomics, and just an array of things they looked at and they made minute changes with, and then they stuck with those changes consistently, and by doing that they had phenomenal results. Wow. So what might seem unimportant, like travelling with your pillow or painting your floor white to see if there's any dust, over time all of those things compound together, and it's known as the aggregation of marginal gains, meaning they just compound and they end up giving us a great result. They need to be practiced consistently. So that is your tip. Consistency is key here. So you need to have a goal to start with, right? You need to know what it is you would like to achieve. So theirs was improvement. Theirs was winning medals at the Olympics, and theirs was the Tour de France. Having people win. I don't think they'd ever won one prior to that. So that's pretty impressive, to winning 4 out of the next 5 in the years after that. And it was even sooner than they thought. I think their goal was to have that happen 3 years later, and I'm pretty sure it was 2 years later. So why this? Why this topic today? Apart from the fact that I was walking this morning and I came up with this concept because I know about the aggregation of marginal gains and the Dave Brailsford theory and what he did. But I had a phone call yesterday from an awesome person, a guy, and he said to me, he'd spent the last couple of years really diving into personal development. And when you do that, you just have amazing changes. It is, I don't know, if you've never tried it, jump on that bandwagon. And that means things like reading audiobooks that are all about positivity and achievement, and all the old school ones, Think and Grow Rich. And some of those theories are amazing. I actually recently got given a book, and I will tell you what it was. I've just grabbed my phone here. It is called The Rhythm of Life by Matthew Kelly. Oh my goodness, I'm really enjoying it. And I'm pretty sure it's been around for a long time. So a lot of the concepts have been rewritten into new books and people call them their theories. It is a fabulous book. So if you're into audiobooks, that's one I've just started. I'm a real audiobooker. So I will spend my time listening to audiobooks as much as possible. I do read paper books as well, but I just find it so much easier when you're traveling or exercising. Anyway, the person I was speaking to had these amazing goals that he wanted to achieve. And he said, you might see these as too big. And I thought, no, I don't, because I've heard people with bigger goals and I've had people with smaller goals, and I don't think any goal is too big or small. What matters is that you believe you can achieve it, and you do the work toward achieving it, and you assess your results, and you make sure you're on track, because there's no point in having a goal or wanting to achieve something and not assessing that you are on track. And it was an interesting conversation him and I had, because they'd been doing, renos and selling those. But he realised after looking back, it wasn't working out as fast as he wanted it to. It was working, but he was not going to get to where he wanted to go, because the road was gravel. It was just too slow, and he wasn't going to be able to achieve what he wanted in the time frame that he had ahead of him. And I thought 2 things. I thought, wow, this guy is cool because he is into personal development. So he said he'd just been on a massive journey, like a junkie, and I so get that. But the other thing was that he was prepared to look back and look at what's not working. And I think that's something as humans we don't do often enough. We forget to check in with the goal to make sure, or with our goals, to make sure they are working. And the other thing is we give up, as in 32 days later. He hadn't given up, which was awesome, and he was having a chat to me about doing property development. But I just really loved the fact that he was keen to assess himself, and that's something we all need to do. So he'd realised that he needed to change vehicle. So the vehicle he was on, inside, the vehicle of the renovation strategy wasn't working. And that came with its own challenges and, the stuff I'm not going to go into. We had a chat about that. But that made him realise that the vehicle he was using, which was renovation, wasn't going to work as a strategy. So then he got me thinking about people in general, and even myself. Like, what is it that you want? What do you ultimately want? What is your big goal? Do you set yourself big goals? I often talk about goal setting, but do you have them? Like, what are the big things that you would like to achieve? I know I've talked about it recently, my book coming out, and that was such a big goal for me. Like, seriously, writing a book, it was very challenging. It took 5 years, and every time I put it down and went back to it, because there's a story involved, it's hard to remember exactly everyone's character and what they've been up to. So I'd have to find that I'd have to reread it and then remember who's doing what in the story. And it has personal development tips in it all the way through. So that's a personal development book, but it has a story. So it gets a little bit, if you don't stick at it consistently, like I could have with the whole 1% thing, then I would have, could have been a lot easier. But I stopped looking at the goal, and I had my own reasons for that. But I stopped working toward it. I stopped being consistent. So if we go back to the beginning of this podcast where I said that 1% change, if I'd stuck at it for 1%, a 1% of consistency, I would have gone so much further ahead. So what about you? Like I said, what do you want to achieve? What is it that you would like to achieve? I know another goal that I've had when I was very, very overweight, the goal was to just become not overweight. I was close to 100 kilos. And the thing with the 1%, that really relates to something like weight loss and health, because it's not something you can do overnight. You can't drop 36 kilos in one night. You have to consistently take small steps and do them over and over and over to have the result. And that really, when we break it down, is like every goal, which the example at the start of the podcast with the cyclist. You have to be consistent, and you have to take small steps toward it every day. And that's the thing, every day. And another tip that I give to the clients that I work with is, and I learnt this from James Clear, but I know that he got it from somebody else, and it's probably either the Matthew Kelly Rhythm of Life. It's probably in that book. It's okay to miss once, because we're human. When we're not perfect, we all make mistakes. Crikey, I make hundreds. But when you make a mistake, or when you miss a day, you just make a promise to yourself that you don't miss 2 days. You miss one, and that's okay, but you never miss two. And that means you'll get back on track. So what about you? What is your goal? And if we're listening to property development, is it property development? Is it renovating? Is it investing? Whatever it is with property, what is your property goal? I'm thinking that that's related to money or a lifestyle you'd like to live. And are you taking consistent actions toward it? And if not, how could you? I broke it down to a day, and there are 1,440 minutes in a day. So if you were to allocate 1% of your day to achieving your goal, to improving your life, to improving an area in your life, to achieve something that you want to achieve, it's 14 minutes and 40 seconds a day. That's all it is. 14 minutes and 40 seconds. What could you do for 14 minutes and 40 seconds to a goal that you'd like to achieve, whatever that goal is? And we all have 14 minutes and 40 seconds, don't we? We all have it. So if it's around writing a book, could you write for 14 minutes and 14 seconds a day? That's 1%. The thing is, when you compound those, that 1% a day, by the end of the year, it's 33%. So you would be 33% better at writing. So if it was around health and weight loss, if that was you, what could you do for 14 minutes a day that would enhance 14 minutes? I'll just refer to it as 14 minutes, but what could you do to enhance your journey? What would be your 1% consistency thing that you could do that would get you to where you want to go? Think about that. What is that thing? I actually ended up studying nutrition and became a nutritionist because I just needed to fully understand what I had to do and what my body needed to go through, and then know what I need to do for the rest of my life. But what about you? Is it around health? What could you do in your relationship? Just imagine if you woke up every morning and you spent 14 minutes and 40 seconds with your partner in the space, not doing other things. If you actually were mindful and had that time with them, if you actually made 14 minutes and 40 seconds for a friend, for a relationship, for something you needed to learn, like it's very easy. 14 minutes and 40 seconds. Instead of thinking, I want to, whatever that is, let's go with, I want to run a marathon. Well, let's go half marathon, because I've run a half marathon. I haven't run a marathon. So to run a half marathon, I didn't go out and run 21 kilometers on that day. I actually had to start off by walking, because I wasn't even really running a lot back then. It was a long time ago. And then adding to that little bit further every time. And it might not have been 1%, but I was consistent with my training. So could you do that? I want you to have a think about what is it that you would like to achieve. And if it is property development, what do you need to do? Like, what do you need to do? You may have already, if you're listening to our podcast, you may have already done our course, whatever. Or you may have done a course somewhere else. So what are you not doing that you thought you would be doing? Could you spend 14 minutes and 40 seconds deciding what it is that you'd like to do? When did you actually last sit down and think, I am clear about what I want to do and I'm going to sit down and decide the roadmap to achieve it? Do you even do that? That is something I do often. I know exactly what I would like to do, and then I reach out to the people that need to help me, whoever I need to see, whoever I need to talk to get me to where I want to go. I had a meeting last Friday with somebody who can help me with something, and I just went straight to him. I'm a big believer in coaches, so I just went straight to the person that I know can help me and said, okay, this is what I need. Do you have something that you can, what is your package? What do you do for this? And he's like, yeah, right, let's do this. So what is it that you need to do? Do you just need to go over your course material? Do you need to read more? Do you need to sit down and find out where you're at? Do you need to understand your finances? What is it that you need to do if it's relation to property? Because this is a property podcast. What is it that you need to do? But is it around being more mindful? If it's not around property, or do you break your life down into particular areas, and do you spend 14 minutes, 40 seconds a day on more than one area? Could you spend do that? Spend 14 minutes and 40 seconds on health, on your relationship, on your financial situation, on personal growth. Could you spend that? Do you have that spare time? Do you? That's a really good question, isn't it? The reason I ask is because often we look at people that are successful and we think, oh, it's so easy for them. They've just found that so easy. And it's not the case. When I was speaking to this guy yesterday, he said to me, I'm just prepared to do what it takes. And, he's been living in Renos, and cracky, I've done that. And I said, mate, Bob and I have both done that. Bob and I have both done what it takes. I've looked after people's children. I've done ironing. I've done what it takes. I've done a lot of my own painting, a lot of renoing, a lot. Bob, in his early days, he was a window cleaner. He's done taxi driving. He's done what it takes to get to where he is now. And people think, oh, it's all right for you, you're successful. But they forget to look back on the journey. There's not many people that are an overnight success. Most of us work really hard to get to where we want to be. And I often have that conversation with people if they're talking to me about mentoring. I would say, I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to be that easy. We'll make it as easy as possible, but you're going to have to do the work. And to do the work, you've got to put the time in, and you have to make sacrifices. Anything worth achieving takes commitment, and there will be sacrifice, and there will be the hard stuff. But when you do that, it so pays off. And when you think of it in that 1%, if you're just doing that a little bit each day instead of doing a ton of hard stuff, it just makes it that much easier. So much easier. So what I want you to take away from this podcast are 5 tips. Number 1, you need to identify your areas of improvement. Where could you improve your life? Think about what it is that you want to achieve. Where could you improve? That's number 1. Number 2, break it down. Make it, how do you eat an elephant? Well, we don't eat elephants, but how do you? You just take one bite at a time. Well, how do you move a mountain? You move one rock at a time. So you've got to break it down so it's so small that anybody could do it. What's the next one? You need to focus on small incremental changes. When I lost all that weight, I didn't lose it overnight. I didn't starve myself for 2 months to get there. I made small, gradual changes. I introduced exercise. I had to increase my fitness level. I changed what I ate, but I didn't change it all in one hit. I made it something that was sustainable for me, because then I've been able to maintain that weight loss instead of making it something difficult that you have to stick with. What's the next one? Number 4, consistency is key. You won't be an overnight success, but you will be a success. I promise you that. You stick with any goal that you would like to achieve, and consistency is key. You will achieve it if you are consistent. Think of my book. Close to 5 years. Crazy. But I got there. And then lastly, track your progress. You must track your progress to see where you are and where you need to make changes, just like my friend I was speaking to. What he's realized that it's not going to work on that trajectory. He does need to make a change, and development's going to be the way forward for him. But unless you assess your changes, assess your progress, you don't know if you've perhaps detoured slightly. And you've got to remember that 1% detour can end up in a completely different place. So assess the changes, track your progress. So I'll say those again. Number 1, identify your areas for improvement. Number 2, break it down. Number 3, focus on incremental changes. Number 4, consistency is key. And number 5, track your progress. And here's a bit of a takeaway. Albert Einstein once called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. And he was talking about money, but this is exactly the same. That 1% consistency, that 1% change that you do, that 1% that you do every day will get you there. So I'm giving away 2 things. Firstly, there's a downloadable. I've created a 30-day consistency checklist. Download it at the end of the podcast. It's free. And just track your progress for 30 days. Choose to be consistent with something and write it down and do it. And remember, you can miss 1 day, but you can't miss 2. So there you go. That's below. And I'm also giving away the old Property Millionaires Exposed this week, going to Nicole PV. Nicole, going in the post to you, straight to page 121, girlfriend, you know what to do. Learn all about developing. That's right in there. And this week, we'll be giving away next week's one to somebody who actually gives us a great comment, either on our YouTube or on Apple, Spotify. And remember, you'll need to put your name. Sometimes on YouTube, people are called strange names, and so you'll need to let me know that you've done it. And you will win a copy of this great book. People often say, I've been trying to get my hands on that. And lastly, if property development is on your radar this year, remember we have our 3-day online workshop coming up 26th, 27th, 28th of May, and it's 2 tickets for the price of 1. So you buy the online, you get the live one at the end of the year free. They're both live, but you get in person. So there's a 3-day live, so in the comfort of your own home and your jammies if you need to. 26th, 27th, 28th of May. Our 3-day property development workshop is epic, and even the live online one is great. So if you're interested in that, and it comes with a 3-day live in the Gold Coast, which is a phenomenal event, jump on, and there'll be a link below. If property development's on your radar and you need to increase it by 1%, get on there and do that. So anyway, I hope you found this podcast useful. I know I can talk kind of fast. I get really excited when it comes to being about personal development. But what I really want for you to know is, you know what? Why not you? I work with so many cool people, so many high achievers who have really awesome goals. You know, Jeremy, and a big hey to Jeremy Hansey too. He's a high achiever. He's one of my favourite clients. But I work with so many cool people just going places. Connie, I'm trying to get her on this and so I can interview her. You know, just cool people that are consistently doing the work. They're going to be overnight successes, you know, in 3 years' time or whatever it takes. You know, but no one's an overnight success, but they will get there. So if you want to get there, jump below, download the tracking sheet, the 30 days of consistency. That will be a great asset for you, and give it a go. And email me. Let me know how you find it. Let me know that you did it and you created lasting change, because that's what it's about. And also there's the link in there for our workshop, which is in 2 weeks' time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. We'll be back with you next week, back on the tag team, I'll say. And it's, oh my goodness, episode 100. Holy moly. I am excited. But anyway, this is episode 99, done and dusted. Catch you next week. Bye.